Hello Tech Pros, episode 206. Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I've got a question for you. Do you want to start your own business? If you do, then you've come to the right place. This is day 3 of our 7-day free audio and email course that will give you the framework that you need to start your very first business. You know, Entrepreneurship Saturday, every Saturday, is usually my most popular day of the week. It's my most popular episodes. So many technical professionals, so many entrepreneurs want to start their own business. They want to start their own company. They want to build their own products. They want to market their own services. They want to launch their thing and get it out there in the world. A lot of you guys have already started your own business, and you're just trying to figure out how to get it off the ground, how to do more with less, how to get in front of those very elusive customers or potential customers that may be out there. And so there's a ravenous supply of people that want to learn this information that I'm teaching you. This week is all about starting your first business, but it's not just for brand new newbies. As I said, all my entrepreneurship episodes are really popular, and so this condenses, gosh, I don't know how many entrepreneurship episodes that I've done so far, but basically, if you subscribe to this entire week, if you go through the full 7-day-a-week program here, then you are going to get just the highlight reel, the best of the best, to get your business off the ground, to get it moving, to get more customers, to get more interaction, to get more business, to get more success. So to follow along, if this is the first time that you've come into this, if this is the first episode that you've heard in this series, you can go to hellotechpros.com/start. That's hellotechpros.com/start, as in start your first business. Sign up there. I'm going to give you an email every single day of the week from now on, or from now till the next 7 days. And it's going to have the highlights of the podcast. So you don't necessarily have to listen to the whole thing, but I love you. If you do, I'll be your best friend. I'll give you the highlight reel as well as homework. It's vitally, critically, absolutely important that you follow along and actually do the homework. Why? Because how many people have a dream of starting their own business? How many people would love to launch their startup, but they never do? Why? Because they don't commit. They're not committed to the effort. They're just kind of entrepreneurs. And I talked about this in yesterday's episode. I talked about why so many people fail, so many businesses fail, is because a lot of people want to get it started, and they may do things like, file an LLC, or they may buy a stack of business cards, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a business. You have a business when you have customers that are paying for your product or your service. That's a business, and you don't need to sign a bunch of paperwork with the IRS saying that you are now an S corp in the United States. You don't need to have a bunch of employees. You don't need to have fancy business cards, printed on the best linen cardstock. You don't need to have a $5,000 logo that you've bought from some killer graphic designer. You don't need all of that stuff. What you need to do is put the right framework in place that's going to, as quickly as possible, identify who your target audience is, who that ideal customer is, start talking to them about what they need, and then give them the things that they are wanting to buy. There are people already out there who are begging to pay somebody money to solve the problems that they have, or really desperately looking online for some solution to some problem or some entertainment or some whatever that they're looking for. They are searching already for the things that they want, and they would gladly give you money if you provided that to them, if you find the right customer. So this series, the 7-day series, is really about the easy steps, the quickest way to go from zero to hero or zero to finding those first customers and getting your business launched. So follow along at home through the email course. Follow the homework. It's so absolutely critical to follow the homework, because that is going to, first of all, hold yourself accountable and committed to the program. Also, I will be there with you. I will be your accountability partner. And when I see that you sign up and you log in and you don't follow through the course, I'm going to be sending you emails every day for 7 days. If you're not responding, if you're not doing the homework, if you're not saying, "Hey, Chad, this is my answer for question number 1. Here is what I've done for module number 2." If you're not following through, then I will hold you accountable to that, because I want to see you succeed. I was a entrepreneur for 15, 20 years and never got started until I launched Hello Tech Pros. I had so many different business ideas, so many different domains, and I talked about that in yesterday's episode. Man, it's a horrible, horrible story on my part. I don't want you to have the same story. I don't want you to come back 10 years from now, 2 years from now, and say, "You know what, I should have followed a framework. I should have followed a process. I should have had a Start Your First Business course, an absolutely free course. I could have learned from Chad and learned from all of his guests. And if I would have just gone through the steps in the emails that he sent out, you know what, I would have been so far ahead than where I am now." So that's what I want from you. Again, go to hellotechpros.com/start. And let's get started. If you're already back, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yesterday we talked about, all of those hundreds of ideas, those hundreds of domain names that that I bought and expired and never did anything with. And I just was completely unproductive at getting my business launched. And so yesterday we talked about how to really find the startup idea you were meant to launch and quit jacking around with a whole bunch of ideas that aren't the right idea. So we talked about how to find that right idea that's perfect for you. Now today, we're going to talk about something that has stressed me out a lot in the past, something I've had a lot of anxiety about, and that's when and how to bring on help for your startup. Excuse me. There's so many times that I didn't get started because I thought, man, this is a huge undertaking that I'm doing. The idea that I have in my head, like the picture that I have in my head of this solution, of this product, of this app, of this software as a service, of this, just regular service, not a software as a service, but just a regular service, it's going to require a team of lots and lots of people. But I can't afford all those lots and lots of people. I can't afford the one person, right? So what do I do? Where do I spend my money? Where do I spend my personal time working? And where do I spend my money investing in, bringing on other people? Or do I go out and find investors and get somebody else to put their money into it, and me just being the idea guy that gets it all off the ground? So let's spend just a couple minutes talking about those two options, right? Let's talk about, do I bootstrap it or do I find investors? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but to me, I struggle with, do I want to find investors or not? And it's basically, is this a company, is this idea, is this product, is this something that I want to own in the long run and I want to manage? Or is this something that I would love to have an exit for in a few years, right? Am I trying to pump it up and get a ton of value, get a ton of investors, get a ton of people working on it, and get a lot of excitement and buzz around it? And then when I go public or when I get to a certain point, I can hand off the reins to somebody else and they can own it, they can run it. We can appoint a new CEO in charge and that's it, and I can cash out. Or another thing, is the problem that I'm working on, or is the opportunity that I'm working on so big that it's really going to require a ton of capital to scale up? And then how quickly do I want to scale up? Like what's the objective? Am I trying to build the next Google? Am I trying to build a Fortune 500 company? Like what's the objectives that I have? Am I trying to do that? Or am I just trying to build a lifestyle business? So I love the startup podcast by Gimlet Media. I love that story. But when in season 1, there was this really question, that very question that he had to think about. Do I go with investors or do I just build a lifestyle business? For me, that question would have been extremely easy, and it would have been just the opposite, right? So for me, it would have been, no, I want to build something for me that I own, that I'm comfortable with, where I can literally be my own boss and I don't have a bunch of investors who are really just my new employers, but at a higher level, right? So for me, I'm talking about building a business that I'm going to own, that I'm going to run, that I'm going to build up, but I am not accountable to investors to make them happy and to make them more money and to worry about how do I scale up the revenue fast enough to make my investors happy. I want to do it at my own pace. I want to do it my own way. I would love having input and guidance and mentors and so forth like that. But for me, I want to build something that I'm truly passionate about that works for me. I don't necessarily want to build something that requires a lot of upfront investment. But that's just me. You may have a completely different angle. Cool. No worries. Either way, you're going to have to think about when and how to bring on help. Even if you go out and get investors, right? The first investors that you're going to get, that seed capital, there's probably not going to be like somebody going, you know what? I would love to write you a check right now for $50 million. Go out and get whatever you need to put it in place. No, they're going to say, what's the bare minimum that you need to get to the next stage? And what is the next stage of your company? What's the next stage of your idea? No matter what, no matter if you're trying to bootstrap it or you're trying to get investors, in my opinion, and take it for what it's worth, you want to get as much done as you possibly can without taking one dime in investment capital. Even if it's your dad, even if it's your cousin, even if it's your ex-boss that you used to work with and everybody's cool with you, even if it is your friends at your church or your soccer team, or a venture a VC, right, from the Valley. It doesn't matter who that person is. You want to hold off and not accept that money for as long as possible, because what you're trying to do is build as much value in that company as you can before you accept their money, right? Because let's say that somebody gives you $100,000 and your idea is really worth a whole lot of nothing. It's really the effort that you put into it, right? It's the execution of the idea that really has value. And so what can you do to execute on that idea and to build more and more value into it before you accept that capital? So it's a teeter-totter. It's a seesaw, right? It's a balance. It's you're trying to do as much as you possibly can by yourself and build as much value for yourself. But on the other hand, you're trying to get this thing off the ground and get it launched, and it takes time and money to do that. So you're going to have to try to consolidate this equation here. And there's no right and wrong, right? There's right and wrong for every specific situation, for every specific personality. In your situation, it's going to be something that you have to think about. But for me, regardless of if I need to go out sometime in the future and get capital or not, I want to work on trying to build as much value around this idea as I can. I said something just a minute ago I want to retouch on. The idea itself is worth nothing or worth next to nothing. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. I've got hung up so many times in the past because I go, oh my God, this is $1 million idea. Well, guess what? I have bought domain names. I have written a whole lot of notes in Evernote. I have even built, very small, rough and dirty blogs and websites, and I've written tons and tons of code on ideas that I've worked on in the past. The ideas itself may be $1 million ideas. They may be crap. I don't know. But I haven't got paid a single dime for any of them. Nothing. No money. So does that mean that all the ideas I had was complete junk and they were $0 ideas instead of $1 million ideas? Kinda, yeah. It means that the ideas themselves are worth really nothing. An idea doesn't generate capital. An idea doesn't generate money. It's the execution of that idea. It is the working on that idea, the building of it, and especially the socialization of that idea. You got to take a great idea or even a half-hearted, decent idea. You got to put some work into it and refine it and make it a little sharper, make it a little better for a certain type of demographic, a certain type of customer. And then you need to socialize that idea and get it in front of potential customers. And it's the combination of all of those things, kind of like a pyramid, right? You got to have all three sides. Or they say a three-legged stool, right? You take any of the legs away, the stool's going to fall over. You got to have the idea, you got to have the execution of the idea, and you have to have the socialization of the execution of the idea. You have to have all three of those things in place to make a pyramid or to make a three-legged stool that's going to stand up on its own. And if you take any one of those things away, it's going to fall over. In my opinion, the least important part of that is the idea. So don't worry so much about the idea, right? We talked about that a lot in yesterday's podcast. So go back to hellotechpros.com/start, sign up for the email companion course along with the audio, and I'll send you the audio file so you can go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. And it's not so much about the idea, it's about the execution. So right now, we're trying to figure out what we can do to execute on this idea and to build as much value as possible. So one of the things that we get hung up on is we're thinking about some huge, right? Or at least in my head, I'm thinking about some huge, like some big system, some massive system, right? I've worked in Fortune 100 companies and I think at the enterprise level. And a lot of times I get hung up because can my idea scale to 10,000 people, to 100,000 people, to 1 million people? Who cares? You don't have 100,000 customers. You don't have 1 million customers. Can you prove it to one person? Can you get one person to buy in on it? Right? Or if that one person is a company who's then going to roll it out to 1,000 employees, that's great. You can talk about scale at that point. But first, let's talk about, can you sell the idea? Can you build a proof of concept? Can you just pitch the idea, put together a deck that really explains what the solution or what the product is? Can you put the marketing messages around it in such a way that people grasp it and go, oh yeah, that's exactly what we're struggling with? In yesterday's episode, we talked about an avatar and how you write the perfect avatar. How do you come up with the best avatar? And what the avatar is all it is just a perfect description or a simple description of the most perfect customer that you could possibly get, right? A simple, perfect customer. Like, hey, this one person, she epitomizes exactly who we're trying to seek, right? Amanda has this kind of job and she's this age and she lives in this part of the world, and here's all the things she's good at, here's all the things she struggles with, and here's an area of her life where we can help her, right? And so when you write that down, the more clarity you have about Amanda or whoever your avatar is, the better it is that you can solve that problem. So we're going back to, how can I solve the problem for her? So many times we think of the enterprise level, or we think of all the Amandas in the world wrapped up together, or all of the potential customers and all of the problems that they have and all of the bells and whistles that could be in our app. Man, cut all that stuff down. Cut it down, and let's focus on that MVP, that minimum viable product. What's the smallest thing that we can roll out? What's the smallest problem in the list of all the problems that Amanda has, and the list of all the opportunities that Amanda could potentially pay for to resolve in her life? What's the one that's going to be both the most painful to her and the easiest for you to solve? It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to have a ton of bells and whistles on it. It doesn't have to be like enterprise grade technology that you're building. If you're building an app or building a SaaS or building a website or whatever, it doesn't have to be like white glove treatment with 1,000 different service providers if you're providing a service, right? If you're cutting Amanda's hair, you don't need like you don't need operations all across the world, right? You just need to literally find an Amanda and cut her hair, you by yourself. If that's not something you can provide to her, then you're going to have to find somebody else to provide it. So when and how to bring on help for your startup, will do as much as you possibly can by yourself that actually makes a difference. And I think a lot of times we do the wrong things. We're working on the wrong things. We're being doers in the company and not decision makers in the company, right? We're trying to do all of the things for all of the different aspects. So the first thing you need to do is just really understand who that customer is, right? We talked about that in yesterday's episode, and you had some homework there. So if you did that homework, now let's think of, what are all the things we're gonna need to have sooner or later, and let's list them out. Let's just make a list of all the things that we need to be doing, all the things that need to be worked on, activity needs to be worked on. Now we're going to sort it and prioritize it by what are the 2 or 3 things that are really going to, first of all, grab Amanda's attention and get her to say, yeah, absolutely, I need that. And second of all, be the minimum viable product, the minimum viable service that I can offer to Amanda that fixes one of the easiest things on her list of all the different opportunities she has. So let's narrow it down. Let's narrow that list down to just the 1 or 2 things that's really going to make a difference for her, for that avatar. And I'm using Amanda just as a sample avatar name. So what are all the things? Now we're going to sort it, and we're going to discover what are the most time-sensitive things. So when I say time-sensitive, I mean both the quickest wins and the things that she desperately needs right now. Like what are the low-hanging fruit, if you will? What are the easy things that I can knock out because I've already got it done. I can use some open source code. I can hobble some things together, or I don't even have to build a product. I can just put a mock-up, a prototype, like a sketch together and say, this is the thing. These are the small, easy things that I want to provide to you, Miss Amanda, Miss Potential Customer. And now what is the short list of the things that she most desperately needs? We're going to combine that together, and those are the things that we should be working on. Like those are the value propositions that we should be offering to her. Then when we have that, what's the minimum viable product that we're going to build? Now, what are all the requirements for that MVP? What are all the things that we need to be doing, right? So on your list, it may be going out and buying a domain name. It may be going out and registering your company as an LLC. I don't know. It may be going out and getting a tax attorney or going out and finding an accountant, right? These are all things that are important to your business at some point. But is it important right now today? It depends on who you ask, right? The lawyers are always going to say you have to talk to an attorney first. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to give any legal advice. Talk to an attorney whenever you think you need to. The accountants are always going to say the earlier you can talk to an accountant, the better off you are. I'm not an accountant, so I will say, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But really, where do you need to spend your most time and the money? If you don't have a business, meaning if you don't have customers, then lawyers and accountants aren't going to do you any good. You have to find somebody who, even if they're not giving you money, they're saying, yes, 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 please take my money. And you say, okay, well, hang on. Let me go talk to my lawyers. Let me go talk to my accountant. Let me set up the right business structure first, and then I will accept your money. But first, I want to build demand. I want to build demand that there's a lot of Amanda-type people out there who really, really wants my product, who really, really wants my service. So let's narrow it down to what's the most important thing that she needs and what's the easiest thing for me to deliver, and let's sell her on that. Not necessarily take her money, but pitch her on the idea that she has this problem, we have the solution, and she believes that she can that we can provide it to her. And then when she says, yeah, sign me up, I'll buy that for $1, or I'll buy that for $100. Now you've got a customer, right? A real potential customer that's, or not a potential customer, a real future customer that wants to give you money. Then it's about, okay, how do we find more of those? And then when it's the right time for your business, you can go out and do all the lawyer things, you can do all the accounting things, you can do all the business structure things, and then you can go back to Amanda and all of her friends who are in the same predicament, and you can say, you know what, now I have my proper business entity structure in place, all my legal things in place. Now I'm ready to take your money and to provide you this product or service. But first, let's really, really make sure that she wants it. Let's not waste a bunch of time filing LLCs and setting up tax plans when nobody's ready to hand us money yet. It doesn't make any sense. We're working on the wrong things. Okay, so the next thing in our list, once we identify that MVP, once we get really clear about, yeah, here Amanda wants this stuff, our customers, we're now starting to build a list of potential customers, right, or future customers who really want to, get this problem solved. Now, how do we deliver it? What are all the things that we do? We need websites, we need social media, we need, maybe we need code written, maybe we need a blog post, maybe we need a podcast, maybe we need a lot of different things. We need a logo, we need graphic design, we need so many different things. Okay, so we go back to the same question that I had before. Like, what are the things that we can do ourselves? What are the things that you can do literally yourself to build as much value into the company as possible for as long as possible until you need to go get those outside investors, before you need to go say, you know what, I need to find a VC, or, hey, Uncle Larry, can you loan me like $10,000 so I can get this thing launched? Try to build as much as you can yourself, but also being time sensitive, right? So what are the most important things? What are the critical things in order to get this MVP into the hands of my future customer, right? Or my future customers, a list of people who are already demanding and wanting the service. What's the minimum that I have to do to get there? Now, all the things on the list, it's going to be probably a pretty big list once you come up with it. Here's what I want you to do with that list. You're going to go through 4 Ds and an A. What I mean by that is delete, delegate, defer, automate, and do. Okay, so let's step through them one by one really quickly. Delete. The first thing you're going to do is look at that list and delete all of the things, all of the items, or archive them or whatever. Move them off out of that list into another list. But delete all of the things on that list that are not critical for Amanda. It's not critical, absolutely critical to make it successful. That means all the nice to haves, all of the would like to haves, all of the, someday we're going to need this. Just remove all that crap. Because right now, today, when you're trying to get that first customer or that first 10 customers, you don't need any of that stuff. You need the most critical stuff. So just delete as much as you can. Okay, now once you got your short list of the 10 or 20 or 100 things that absolutely have to get done, or the 3 things that absolutely have to get done, how many of those things can you delegate to someone else? How many of those things can be delegated to someone else? Can they be outsourced? Can you get your friend involved? Can you ask for help from your mom? Can you go out to a site like Fiverr or Odesk and find a virtual assistant to knock it out for you at $5 an hour or $10 an hour? So let's delegate whatever we can for as cheap a rate as we can. If we can find volunteers to help us kind of bootstrap this thing, where they're not necessarily an owner of the company, they're just helping us out as friends. Hey, can you send out a tweet every Monday for me because you have a big Twitter following? Cool, awesome, thanks. Really appreciate it. I owe you one. But you're not giving up a piece of your company, right? So delegate as much as you can. Defer. So on your list, here's the absolute critical things I have to have, but I don't have to have it today. I don't have to have it this week. I can defer my logo design for a few months. Actually, the logo design you can absolutely delete. You don't need that. I've wasted too much money on logo designs. So what are the things that I have to have? I'm going to have a, I don't know, what example do we want to get? I am going to have a Twitter account. Absolutely. I'm going to have to build a Twitter account. But do I need it from day one? No. I'm not. it's a nice to have, but it's not a must have. So put that on next week's list. You don't need it right now. Automate. What are the things that I can automate? Can I build a script? Are there tools out there? Are there software as a service? Is there just a process that I could put together? Could I document whatever my process is? For example, on Hello Tech Pros, one thing that is automated is all of my guests. When my guests sign up for the show, I don't have a lot of back and forth conversations on what's my schedule. Hey, Chad, I would love to be on your show. Are you available next Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific time? Dude, I have no idea. I literally don't know, because I'm not going to take time. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take time to look at my calendar to see if I'm available next Thursday at 2 p.m. to do a podcast recording. I have an automated system in place to help me do that. Here's the link to my schedule. You can take a look, in any slot that is open, feel free to take. I would love to have you on the show. You can go to hellotechpros.com/guest. I tell every potential guest this. Go to hellotechpros.com/guest. I have automated the process of providing you with as much information as you need to figure out whether or not this podcast is right for you, whether or not you are interested on any of the 7 topics, on how to decide which topic to pick. I've even got a little email sign up. If you're not quite sure, you're not quite ready to sign up to be a guest, there's things in there to sign up to get more information. And I have like an automated email system that will email the guests like, the potential questions they're going to be on the podcast, just tons and tons of information. I have all of that automated. And then when they're ready to commit, they click on the button that says schedule an episode, schedule a recording, and then it goes to my calendar. I use a tool called Acuity scheduling, and it's I don't know what I pay, $20 a month, something like that. It is absolutely the best, the best money that I spend every month, because it automates the process of getting my guests to sign up. And then I don't have to do the back and forth of, am I available at 2:00 next Thursday? Oh wait, was that 2:00 Pacific or Eastern? I'm Eastern. What are you? Pacific? Okay, Pacific. I got to do the math in my head of 2:00, 3:00, 4:00, right? All that time is a time waster. So we've taken our MVP, we've knocked it down into the short list of things that are absolutely critical. We've deleted all of the extraneous stuff, all of the extra stuff. We have found a list of things that we can potentially delegate to somebody else. We have found a list of things that we can defer until later. We are automating the most critical aspects of the business that are repetitive, that are over and over and over and over again, like signing guests up for your 7-day-a-week podcast. And then finally, do the things that you can do. That's the rest. Do all of the things that you can do. That's the rest. Now, the things that you should be doing at this point is probably in the role of, what should a CEO do? So when we talked a little earlier about, here's the list of things you should delegate, and now here's the things that we can do. I think too many times we don't put enough into that delegation list. I know it sounds like I'm countering myself, right? At the beginning of the episode, I said, do as much as you can to build the value. Absolutely do as much as you can. And now I'm saying switch it around and delegate as much as you can. But what I'm doing is, on the list, you just want to make a note of, here are all the things that I, Chad, personally have to do. Like, if I do not have my hands on this part of the process is broken. If I... And this is all changing, right? At the beginning of Hello Tech Pros, it was, I literally have to go out and find the guests. I have to email them. I have to invite them. I have to go out on Twitter. And nowadays, I have PR companies that I work with that do a lot of the recruiting for me. I no longer have to go out and do invites to potential podcast guests. I have people that are coming to me all the time saying, hey, Chad, we love your show. I have a PR firm, and we have 10 different clients that would love to come on Hello Tech Pros and talk to you about leadership or technology or about entrepreneurship. I say, okay, well, let's talk about them. And then they do all of the scheduling for me, right? So that is a thing that at the beginning of my business, at the beginning of the podcast, I thought was something I had to do. Now I realize there are other people that are out there that can do that for me, and we can build partnerships together. And I don't pay them any money. In some cases, they are asking me how much I charge to get their clients on the show, or how much I charge to get their clients as a sponsor of the show. So what I thought would be a potential cost at the beginning of the podcast, hey, I'm going to have to find a virtual assistant to go out and scrape through all the interwebs and find people who could be amazing guests, and I'm going to have to pay somebody to find them and invite them on the show, has now turned into backwards. Instead of a cost center, it's now a revenue generator of PR companies and marketing companies trying to get their customers onto my show because I have an audience that I can put them on, right? And so what are the things that you can delegate to somebody else? Not necessarily hire employees to, but what are the things that somebody else out there in the world could be doing that you could hand off, that you don't need to be there, right? Can you get a free intern? Can you pay $5 to get somebody to do it? Or is there somebody else already out there in the world that they would love to do it for you for free because there's some benefit to them to do that for free? Does that make sense? They can get experience, right? They're a college kid and they want to get experience. Or they have their customers and they're trying to get their customers in front of you, right? I don't know. There's a lot of different opportunities there. So start thinking like a CEO and stop thinking like a technical professional. This is Hello Tech Pros. You guys are, a lot of you guys and gals are really hands-on technical professionals, right? I've talked to so many people who are software developers, so many people who are infrastructure admins, so many people who are architects, so many people who are line leaders in the business, your VP of technology in whatever company that you serve in. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Forget about that role and forget about that experience that you have in your prior job. Start thinking about, I'm the freaking CEO of this company, and what would the CEO be doing, and what would the CEO be having done? The CEO is probably not going to be tweaking her own WordPress plugins, right? She's not going to be managing all that. She's not going to be checking the servers every night at 3 a.m. to make sure that they didn't reboot, or when they installed their latest security patches that they come out properly. The CEO is not going to be doing that. She's going to have people to do that for her. So start thinking like a CEO. What are the things that you have to do yourself? Like setting the vision for the company, setting the mission statement for the company, like pitching the idea of these are the types of customers that we're trying to find. These are the people that we're helping. And here's how our MVP is going to really rock their world and change life and change business for them. And those are the things the CEO needs to be doing. Putting in place that management structure of how the company is run, making decisions on whether or not to accept money from investors, whether or not to accept money from customers. You may be in a situation where you get somebody saying, hey, you're pretty good at computers, right? Well, I got a busted 486 out in the garage that I want to give to my nephew, and I can't get the thing to boot up. I'll give you $100 if you can get it working. Okay, you are the CEO of this company. Do you want your company to be restoring busted 486s that haven't been run in like 15 years? If so, perfect. If that's your niche, perfect. Go forward and find people to do that for you, or start doing that yourself. If not, make the hard call to say, you know what, that's not what I'm focused on. That's not what I'm working on. Here's what we're working on, and go out and try to find some other customers. Don't necessarily take the first customer, the only customer that comes to your door knocking, trying to hand you money. Okay, again, to recap, we're going to find that MVP. First, we're going to identify that customer, that perfect avatar. We did that yesterday. Again, go do the homework if you haven't done the homework already for yesterday. It's vitally important. Oh my gosh, yesterday's homework is going to make or break your company. If you don't spend time following through on that action item that I gave you, you're going to be wasting so much time in the future, because you're going to be spinning your wheels working on things that feels like productivity. It feels like being productive, but it's not really moving in the direction that your company needs to be heading. So identify your perfect avatar, follow the instructions that I gave you yesterday. After that, now today, it's all about that MVP. What's the smallest thing that you can provide to that customer that's going to really add some value in their life, add some value in their business? It's really going to help them out in some scenario. What's the smallest thing that you can provide? Meaning, what's the easiest thing that you can do? What's the easiest thing that you can do that has the most value for that customer? I don't mean the smallest thing like they don't care about. I mean the biggest thing that they care about compared to the smallest amount of effort. Combine that together, and then now you've got a product. What's the list of all the things that need to happen? Do you need to actually build a prototype? Do you need to actually build a website or an app? Or can you just mock it up and have like some quick and dirty screens written down on a Post-it note, kind of sketched out, and show people, hey, this is what I'd like to provide to you. I think this will help. Do you even need that? Do you need technology? Do you need to provide them an app or a website or a piece of software? Or can you just explain to them what their problem is and how your solution is going to solve it? If you can explain to a potential customer what their problem is and why they have that problem in such a great detail that you can articulate it better than they can articulate it themselves, then they will naturally assume that you have the answer that they've been looking for. And they'll say, yeah, that's exactly, oh my gosh, like you've nailed it. You know exactly what my problem is. How do I solve it? What do I do? Here's my money, take it, just solve it. So we want to get to that point. But first, make that list of all the things that you need to do to provide that answer. Let's prioritize it, and then delete, delegate, defer, automate, and do. Once you have that list of exactly what you have and when you have, then you're going to know when to bring on your help. And the how to bring on your help, I've given several examples. Man, you could hire, you could outsource, you could look to your current network. You can ask your mom, right? Ask your friends. You don't necessarily have to have employees. There's lots of creative ways to go about doing it. Don't necessarily just look for I have to hire a full-time employee. And you don't have to have a co-founder. You just need somebody to do these tasks that you can delegate. Tomorrow, come back tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to choose the right technology in the stack that most technical professionals fail to master in their startup. So the technology stack that most technology professionals fail to master. What do you think it is? Let's leave you this. What do you think is the technology stack that most technology professionals fail to master? I'll leave you with that. Go to hellotechpros.com/start. Get access to the full 7-day email and audio course so you don't miss a single beat. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/206. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microStorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Leadership Wednesday, but tomorrow, my featured guest and I talk about technology. On Friday, people and communication. Saturday, entrepreneurship. Sunday, being unplugged. And then next week, we kick it off with Motivation Monday, followed by Tuesday, productivity. And then we're back again on Wednesday to discuss leadership. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.